The NFL on CBS streams live on Paramount Plus all season long. Why Paramount Plus? Stream the NFL on CBS and you can watch your local game live every week and catch featured national games. That includes pivotal afternoon matchups, the Thanksgiving game, and the postseason, all streaming live on Paramount Plus. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to sign up today. Another great season of the NFL on CBS awaits, streaming live on Paramount Plus.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are the things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Attack the Baseline, a WNBA podcast where every episode we attack our baseline knowledge of the WNBA. It is Las Vegas Aces Week, the final team for us to cover in this 2024 WNBA regular season. And Kristen, we've got two guests today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce them to our audience?
Sure. So we wanted to welcome in friends of the pod, Laura and Elizabeth Royden. And I just wanted to congratulate both of you on winning the Attack the Baseline Fantasy Women's Basketball League.
Oh my gosh.
Huge.
Thank you so much. Kristen came in second, but couldn't defeat us. I would like to thank Satu Stabile for really going on a tear at the end of the season, helping us pull it out, and Skylar Diggins-Smith, I would say.
And Nafisa.
Nafisa's been good all season.
Remember when you got mad at me for picking Nafisa over AT?
Yeah, our
first really popular
yeah.
season.
This is our first season really following the W's, so the draft was a little stressful, and Elizabeth was like, we had the third pick, and she was like, draft Nafisa, and I was like, well, she's sixth on the list, and we should really be drafting AT, I think, and she was like, no. People say this Nafisa girl is good. She is good, so.
She is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Satu, a player that I drafted and stashed on my injured reserve for way too long, and then I said, I'll let her go, and then you scooped her up.
I got her.
Me.
Sorry. Maybe I did screw you, but
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you both for joining us today. We're going to talk about Aces, but we do know that the both of you have a lot of opinions about the W in general. And you mentioned that you're new fans to the W, just like us. What have you enjoyed so far about becoming a new WNBA fan? And did you have any previous experience with the league before this season?
Yeah, so we had basically no experience with the W before this season. I grew up watching men's college basketball and then got Elizabeth into it when we started dating. And then we sort of got into women's college basketball with, the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese of it all. And then this year followed the draft class into the W. So I would say we're some of the fans who aren't really Caitlin Clark diehards, but because of so much media about her, it's really brought us into the W. And I think fantasy also helped with us getting into it because fantasy is a very fun way to get into a sport because you immediately have this weird rooting interest of watching a game and being like, I know nothing about this player, but, I really want DeWanna Bonner to pop off in this game. And then she does, and that's very exciting. So we just started watching a lot of games. We're grad students. We have empty summers. So we have just obsessively started watching the games.
Yeah, and we were able to go to a couple of games. We were in Seattle when the Fever came to visit, so we went to that, which was really fun. Awesome. And then we were in Boston, which is about an hour and 45 minutes from Mohegan Sun. And so we're grad students. We have lots of time. Well, not now, but during the summer. And so we drove there, which was also fun. It was kind of an interesting environment.
Yeah.
But just lots of neon lights everywhere. Not in the arena, but in the casino. And then the Sun also came to play in Boston, so we watched them too.
Yeah, I think one of the things I didn't realize, I mean, obviously, the W has a reputation for like lots of lesbians playing basketball and everything, but I didn't realize just how gay and social activism isn't really the right word, but how they're having such serious conversations all the time while also having a lot of fun and playing basketball. So I think that was a huge pull for me, just being like, wow, it's so cool how openly queer all these players are, and it's like playing out on the court in some cases.
Yeah, there's really good, like, sort of off the court drama going on to the court, especially this season with Melissa and Dijonay. Sort of, people watching their relationship rekindle in real time, like during the Fever Sun games, and also maybe now they're engaged.
Yeah, Dijonay was wearing
this is news.
She was wearing a rock on her ring finger.
Yeah, really large diamond ring on her ring finger at yesterday's game.
We'll see.
Oh, wait, are they going to be playing against each other?
Yeah.
They will.
In the playoffs. Wow, that'll be good.
That's so good. That's so good. We actually just said, like, you already brought up Dijonay and Alyssa. Do you have a favorite relationship in the W? Is it just AT and Dewana, or like, is there another one that really takes cake?
It's Dijonay and Alyssa for me, I think. I love Dijonay. Dijonay is one of these, players who I had never heard about before I started watching, and then she was just immediately so fun to watch. She's just a menace on the court, and she's one of these people off the court who's very outspoken and, isn't afraid to tweet whatever she's thinking. So, yeah, it's the two of them for me, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really good point that I've also really enjoyed about the W this season, where like there is definitely competition and competitiveness between the players and the teams. But there's also like this sense of we're kind of all like in this together, trying to fight for better salaries and better, media presence and all of that. So while there is drama, there's also like teammateship between players on other teams. They're fighting together for a bigger purpose, I guess. So I think that's
they're
cool.
not afraid to go at each other if they want to.
Right, but it's fun spirited still.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, most of the time.
99% of the time, yeah. I'd agree.
Yeah, I also think, like, I haven't really watched the NBA, so I don't know how often players get traded or move around, but I feel like a lot of W players have been on, this team for a year and this team for a year, and like moved around a lot. I've been playing those like, WNBA grid games where you have to do like someone who is on, the Aces and also the Lynx or whatever.
Yeah.
And the thing that I've learned from doing them is just always guess Tina Charles, because you have a really good chance of being right. But I also think that means that a lot of players have relationships with each other, even if they're not currently playing together, because they have in the past.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, especially, with the Olympics this year, it was really fun to watch the first half of the WNBA season, and then suddenly all of the stars are now on the same team playing with each other instead of against each other. So that was really fun.
Yeah, we really got everything this year.
We really did. It was a good year to get in.
Yes,
I would say.
Yeah.
So you are fans of the Aces. You are de facto Aces fans, but we know that it may not be your number one team. Why don't you tell our audience like where your maybe WNBA allegiances lie, even if it's just player based? But we do know that you know a lot about the Aces, which is why we had you here.
Yeah, I think we kind of started out as Aces fans the most, because we didn't really know any of the teams that well, and they're sort of like, the most like easy to see all of their personalities as a team together on social media, kind of. And so we were like, okay, they seem really fun, and also like, they're defending champions, so they must be good. But then I feel like over the course of the season, as we got to know some of the other teams, I would say that my like top team at this point is the Lynx. I just think they're really fun. I love Nafisa, obviously, our fantasy queen. And just, I don't know, I really like the way that they like play as a team. I feel like, a lot of teams have a couple of really good players, and then there's sort of a big drop off into like their bench players. And I feel like the Lynx are like, other than Fisa, they don't really have a star, but they're just all like really good together. And yeah.
Yeah, my top team at this point is the Mercury. I simply love Diana Taurasi. I would die for her, etc. But I think they're a fun team in sort of the same way the Aces are a fun team, in that they have a lot of characters.
Yeah.
And they're always up to shenanigans. They're always doing stuff. They're very fun on social media. A lot of them are on TikTok.
Leading the lead in technicals.
Leading the lead in technical fouls. There's always fun stuff going on. They just seem to have a really good time together and really like each other as a team, which I find fun.
Yeah, and it definitely helps that at least DT and Brittany Griner have been playing with each other for so long. So even though like Kalia Copper came in this year, there's still like a lot of history and chemistry between the team. Yeah.
They're both teams are fun watches. I say this often, that they're more modern basketball teams. They play at a good speed. They shoot a lot of threes, which is what I enjoy when I watch basketball. I do wish that BG would dunk just once for me, please.
Yeah.
I know you can, but it's okay. She doesn't have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many characters, like you said, so many like people to root for and reasons to root for any given team. So it makes sense that even though you do consider yourself Aces fans to start, and still Aces fans in the broad sense, you can also enjoy these other teams too. So let's bring it back to the Aces, who played 3 games this week. They won 3 games this week. It was refreshing for Kristen and I to watch a good basketball team for the first time in a month. Asia is the best player in the world, playing better than she did last year, which was very, very good. Aces have other really fun players to watch, like Kelsey Plum and Jackie Young, and even a player like Kia Stokes, who is a player that you might not think of. She had a very good week. What are some of your overall opinions about the Aces in general, and maybe some things that you saw from this week or just from the season?
And maybe looking ahead to the playoffs, how do you think it'll go? How do you think they'll do?
Yeah, I mean, Asia is the best player in the world right now. She's having the best season, stats-wise, that anyone has ever had in the W. And it's crazy to watch, game after game. Asia is simply unstoppable. No one can stop her. She's scoring.
And then sometimes you'll be like, oh, she had kind of a bad game tonight. And then you look at her stat line and it's like, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. It's
Asia.
funny. I knew, when we agreed to record this podcast, it was a couple weeks ago, and I was sort of in the middle of, the Aces slump, and I wasn't sure exactly when we were going to do it, and so I was like, okay, what are we going to say? Thinking about some of their, problems, but now, obviously, they're on a huge upswing and, going into the playoffs strong, so I feel like people have talked about, the playoff Aces before and how they just, kick it up a gear at the end of the season, which I feel like they've already started doing, so I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I think Asia hit 1,000 points this week.
Yeah.
Was it last weekend?
Yep.
Yeah, and so that was really amazing to watch. And just watch how excited the team was for her, how the crowd was for her. And then I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch her speech in the locker room afterwards, where she sort of broke down about how hard it is to be Asia Wilson sometimes, and the pressure that, it's sad, but it's refreshing in another sense to watch this incredible athlete just admit the pressure she must be under, feeling from herself, not from her team in a sense, but to not let herself down, not let her team down. And then the media pressure she feels is really sort of heartbreaking, but also so exciting to see her do this and achieve this.
Well, and also I feel like part of the Aces slump this year, it sort of felt like they all kind of stood around and waited for Asia to take over, which obviously she can take over any game, but also if she scores 42 points and her team still loses, then like everyone else really has to step up
Yeah, I think that
more.
was against the Wings a few weeks ago. I think that was probably the low point of the season for the team.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to the playoffs, I think. Yeah, we have Asia, who's always going to be Asia, always going to be amazing. Then you sort of have this three of Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, and Chelsea Gray.
Chelsea Gray looks like, I mean, she has obviously been playing for a while, but she just looks like her injury has still been nagging her, and it seems like she's finally like feeling better. Like she looks more sort of in form.
Yeah, and I think in order for the Aces to do well, we need one, ideally two of them, to really pop off on a night. You know, there are players where they could score 30 points in a night, or they can go 1 for 30 from 3 a night.
Yeah, I think that's what makes the Aces so dangerous, but also has sort of made them inconsistent this season, is that like you have Asia, you're always going to get, 20 points and 10 rebounds from Asia, at least. But then you have all these other players who can, also give you another 30 points or whatever, or can be sort of extremely streaky. And I think that's part of, like, last year, both Kelsey Plum and Jackie Young were, like, extremely efficient. And this year, their efficiency levels have both dropped a lot. I don't really know why. Maybe it's just last year was kind of an outlier and they're, like, reverting to the mean or what. But so if it's just Asia and no one else is really contributing that much, then it's really hard for them to win. But if even one of them starts going off, then they can beat anybody.
Yeah, I definitely remember that game against the Wings that you mentioned, where Asia maybe she didn't have almost 50, but she had
42 maybe, something like that.
But they still lost.
Yeah, 42.
And that was ringing alarm bells in my head. Like, you can't expect to win a third championship if no one else can step up. But I do think lately, at least these past couple weeks, they definitely took a little bit of an upswing and have some more momentum going into these playoffs. I love Chelsea Gray. At the beginning of the season, when everyone was hyping her up so much, I'm like, really? Can she be like this good of a player? Why are you all talking like this? And then at first she came back and she had some really cool passes, but still you could tell like her injury, like you said, it seemed like it was bugging her. Then the Olympic break, like half the team is on the Olympic team and they just didn't get any time to rest. But finally, I think they found it. I think Chelsea Gray is playing so well, especially when she's shooting threes. Like, she's not afraid to do that, along with Kelsey and Jackie Young. So I think that trio, hopefully they can keep it together and keep up with like Sabrina Ionescu and everyone else that they'll be meeting in the playoffs, hopefully.
Yeah.
I also really enjoy watching Kia Stokes. I didn't realize that she was such she was starting in the games that we watched. And I didn't realize she was such like a big factor on the team. She just adds so much height and, depth to the team, which really can help out Asia, like makes Asia not have to carry the whole load of protecting the rim. So I really appreciated her. Who else have you been really impacted by, John?
Well, I have Kia Stokes written down here. She, in that game against the Sun, the first game of the week, she had a huge block on AT. That was impressive to me. But I think the thing about her that I enjoy watching is that they so often find her in the corner, which is the most efficient shot in basketball, and she's able to make a corner three at a very efficient clip, and that's very helpful. She doesn't, given the other players that we just mentioned, she doesn't need to be this high offensive player. She just needs to make 2 or 3 easy baskets when they're swung to her. And, you can go let Kelsey, handle everything and Asia work in the paint. I think the thing that I've enjoyed the most about the Aces experience is that I think they are so much better in terms of ball handling. Like, they just handle the ball really well. Kelsey's so reliable at taking that, and she can get a shot up maybe faster than anybody that I've seen. She's probably like top 5, in my opinion, of players that I enjoy watching when she's having a good day. And this week she had a good week.
Yeah.
She's always making crazy layups, but I'm like, there's no way she's going to get through all these people to the rim and then suddenly the ball.
Yeah. But I think there are a lot of good, like the starting five's good, but the Aces depth is where they may have maybe the best in the league, because Alicia Clark and Tiffany Hayes and Sydney Colson, they're all good. They're all good and they're all reliable and they can all get to the hoop, and they skew a little bit older, but they're older and reliable veterans. And I think that like any given night you can get a surprise out of one of those players. So I just think they're all great. And Megan Gustafson, we love Pancake.
I love her dog Pancake.
I love them all. How about you both? Is there like a secret player like on the back of the bench that you love on the Aces?
I love Sydney Colson, both in the game and outside of the game. I think Sydney Colson, my discovery of Sid was probably what like really got me into the Aces. For anyone who doesn't know, Sydney Colson is a menace on Twitter. She is, in the way that Dejanay is willing to tweet whatever she thinks about fairness in the league and treatment, Sydney Colson is simply willing to tweet any hilarious thought that comes into her mind. She is willing to tweet. She is so funny. And she just sort of brings that energy to the Aces in general. So like the relationship between her and Asia, where she just has this personality, like this ongoing bit of her sort of annoying Asia, bothering Asia. And sort of that Asia treats Jackie the same way almost. Asia loves to clearly sort of pretend to bother Jackie is very funny. But I love anytime Sid comes off the bench and you're like, yeah, she's maybe like the 7th or 8th player who's going to come in for the game. And then she's stealing the ball. She's making breakaway layups. It's crazy.
Or smoking open layups, but then making crazy hook shots.
Yeah.
Like 1 second later.
Yeah.
No, I think she's really like, what you were saying about sort of the role that she plays in the team kind of off the court, I feel like she also plays a similar role on the court of like, she's going to come off the bench and maybe she'll only play for 5 minutes, but she'll like do something really good in those 5 minutes and just like, give this like boost of energy.
Yeah, the vibes on the Aces are interesting because of everything they've been through championship-wise the past 2 years. They, for sure, I think, seem to like get along really well with each other. They play together very well, but then like off the court, I think, they have great chemistry. There was one video where, what was it, when they're in the hotel.
Oh, when
she won the SB.
SB.
Yes. SB. Yeah, that was so cute. They're in the hotel and they come like running down the hallway, knocking on her door, and they're all like in their pajamas, like screaming in the hallway. That was so cute. But I also kind of feel like they also have some negativity around them. There's, the Dearica Hamby versus whatever her name is, lawsuit. Becky Hammond.
Yeah.
I forget. And then just like in general, people not believing in them, I guess. And, it's like Aces versus everybody has kind of been their slogan and their mentality. Yeah. So there's the plus and minus there.
Yeah. There was a funny tweet the other day where someone was talking about Aces versus everybody, and someone else on WNBA Twitter quote tweeted it. It was like, it's about to be Las Vegas Aces versus the state of Nevada, so calm down. And I think the Dearica situation is really hard. We both support Dearica. I will still root for the Aces, but I'm on Dearica's side. I support her. I hope she gets whatever she's owed and whatever is fair to her. I love watching her thrive.
Yeah,
I think Sparks.
I think part of like, obviously everyone loves to like hate on the champions, right? People like to, but I think part of why some people don't like the Aces also is like, it seems like sometimes they sort of as a team conflate like, everyone is against us because we're good with like, the lawsuits, like people not liking them because of the lawsuit situation. And like, there's definitely some of the former, but I also feel like it like doesn't I don't know, it doesn't look good to like conflate the two. Like I think it was last year after they won, like Kelsey Plum tweeted something about like, hurt, arrested, sued, like champions.
Oof.
And it's like, okay, hurt, sure, that's like a big thing to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
Sued, like obviously we all know. And then it was like one of their former teammates who I think was kicked off the team was like, arrested for domestic violence. And I feel like that's not really like
Uh-oh.
a inspirational thing we overcame as a team to win the championship.
Yeah.
But I feel like they do have this mindset of like aces versus everybody, sort of about everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me think. So one of the games that we got to watch this week was Aces versus Seattle, which is going to be the first round matchup for this team. Not exactly a true idea of what the series is going to be like because no Jewel Lloyd, no Ezi Magbagor. Do you feel like there's, a good amount of juice for Vegas versus Seattle? I think it's probably better than I would have thought even a month ago. Obviously we know how we feel about the Aces, but do we think that like a team like Seattle could give them some trouble, or do you think they're just going to kind of breeze through because we saw a win, the other night?
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. See ebaymotors.com.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Well, I mean, I do think the Aces will win the series, but I think Seattle will put up a fight. I mean, I think with that last game, like, no Jewel, no Ezi, and they still came back from being down like 20 points and briefly took the lead. And the Aces won. The Aces came back and won. And part of that was probably just it's hard to keep your foot on the gas the whole time when you're up 20 points, and so it's natural to sort of like let it slide a little. But I do think, if I were Becky, I would be a little nervous watching that game without two Storm starters still being able to like make this big comeback.
Yeah, I think it's such an interesting. I think all the matchups in the playoffs are interesting for one reason or another, but this one is so interesting, and I can't wait to watch it because the Aces just have so much energy and clearly a desire to win. You can see it in them all the time. They play. Even if they're not playing fast, they're playing hard 100% all the time. And Seattle has more of this like kind, passive energy to them. I think we started to see Skylar break out a little bit sort of against that. She clearly really wants to win and is giving her all and pushing the team. And it's not to say that everyone on Seattle is playing hard, but they all just seem so nice to me that it's going to be an interesting matchup where I think the Aces are almost like out. They play like they're out for blood every time they play.
Yeah.
Whereas Jewel Lloyd is just kind of smiling and, she'll be scoring 30 points in a game or she could score 0 and she still just seems so happy and cheery. I love watching the Storm play.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so interesting team personality wise to watch what happens here.
Yeah. I also think that, I mean, again, obviously 2 Seattle starters weren't playing in the last game, but the way that Vegas kind of squashed Seattle's comeback was by playing zone.
Yeah.
Because Seattle is the worst three-point shooting team in the league, and so if you just pack the paint, it's really hard for them to score reliably. And so I think, Seattle is definitely dangerous because Jewel can get hot, Skylar can get hot, they can, Gabby Williams can shoot 3 sometimes. Most notably against the U.S. in the gold medal match, but someone just needs to tell her that she's playing for France.
Yeah.
But I do think that, basically until Seattle starts consistently scoring threes, it's easier for the Aces to defend them as a team that is very strong in defending the paint.
Yeah.
Sure. And not to get, too into the weeds of further potential matchups in the playoffs. But looking back at the year, the Aces didn't fare particularly well against the Lynx or the Liberty, potentially 2 matchups they could meet. So how do you guys think they could potentially match up against them? Since really all 3 of those top teams are good 3-point shooting and all that.
They're all really, really good. All upper tier teams.
Yeah, I think despite being the 2 seed, the Lynx are my personal favorite to win the championship right now. They're playing so well. I think they have the best depth out of anyone. Nafisa is clearly their best player, but then they don't have this steep fall off that a lot of other teams do after their starters. The Lynx are so deep. They're playing so well. They're so connected. But it seems likely that we're going to see a Liberty versus Aces semifinal, which I think will be really, really interesting to watch because the teams are sort of similar in a way. It'll be Stewie versus Asia. We got people shooting threes left and right on both teams. And I think that one could go either way. The Liberty are probably slightly favored, especially if the Aces go to 3 games against the Storm and have a more grueling time than we think the Liberty might against the Dream. But I can go back and forth just in the past, minute of thinking who would win that matchup.
Yeah. Well, and I think especially, obviously, it's a rematch of the finals last year, which the Aces won. And so on the one hand, the Liberty, swept the Aces this year, right? I don't think the Aces beat them at all.
Yeah, 3-0.
Yeah.
And so that obviously is a big confidence boost going into a series. But also there's this sort of psychological thing hanging over them of we lost to them in the playoffs last year. Will we be able to beat them? And I know the Liberty are one of the few sort of original teams without a championship. And so there's also already this kind of they can be a good team all year, but can they really make it in the playoffs? We haven't seen that them have a lot of success so far, and so I think that there will be a lot of interesting narratives. And also I do think New York has looked a little shaky recently.
Yeah.
They did not look good against the Lynx. Stewie, second half comeback alone, notwithstanding.
Right.
But again, that's sort of if one player on your team drops 40 points and you still lose, that's not a good sign.
Not a good look.
Just what we said about Asia in that Dallas game.
Right. Another just player I wanted to mention was the Aces rookie, Kate Martin. She, I think, got a fair amount of playing time in the beginning of the season, but has played less lately as they're preparing for the playoffs. we saw her play most of the game, if not really the whole game, the last game of the year when the Aces just played their full bench, and I loved seeing like Asia and Kelsey all dressed up on the sideline. That was so fun. So I've really enjoyed Kate being able to kind of form her own identity without Caitlin. Who has been like your guys' favorite rookie, I would say, Kate or not? Who have you liked watching that's been a good rookie?
Good question.
That is a good question.
I think Kate, I have to think while I'm talking about if Kate is my favorite rookie, but Kate, I think, has been the rookie that has been the most fun to watch this year because similar to Asia, I think especially Caitlin and Angel have this huge weight on them of like, are they going to do well? Are they going to flop in the W? You could see it especially in the first maybe 10 games of the season. I hated watching Caitlin because she just looked miserable all the time, both from losing and from clearly all the pressure that was on her. It's gotten a lot better as the season's gone on, and they've, I think, gotten into the swing of things on the Fever. But Kate has just had the craziest season as a rookie. You know, she shows up to the draft to support Caitlin, doesn't think she's going to get drafted. In the middle of the draft, one of the, producers is like, moved to the IL seat. We can't tell you why. She gets drafted by the Aces. And she's just, this team loves her.
Yeah.
She's, they tease her by having the bus leave without her. She has to wear her rookie unicorn backpack.
She has to wear her South Carolina gear.
She had to wear her South Carolina gear. She's clearly just having the time of her life and so much fun. And it's so fun, as you said, to watch her develop, outside of just being Caitlin's sidekick, just have her space to be the rookie on the Aces who everyone is cheering for and rooting for.
Yeah. And I think, right, what you're saying about like there not really being any expectations on her, and so it's allowed her to really flourish. I feel like especially in the beginning of the season when she was getting more playing time, like no one really expected her to get like rookies on good teams,
right,
unless you're Caitlin Clark. I mean, not that she was on a good team at the beginning there now, but because of her. But, most rookies, especially on contenders, don't get a lot of playing time, and I think because Chelsea Gray was out, and they just didn't have as much depth as they normally do, she got more playing time, and that was also really fun to see because again, it was like no real expectations. Like she's just like anything she's doing on the court is like more than what people expected to see, basically. And so it was fun to watch. I also have been really enjoying watching Rickea Jackson. I feel like she's really blossomed the last like post-Olympic break. She's really been balling, and it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, the Sparks are another team I really love, even though they ended the season, maybe 8-32 or something, some quite awful record, but they're fun to watch in every game. I don't know what it is about them. They all seem like they're having fun. They seem like they get along. Cam went down early in the season with an ACL tear, but you've got Rickea, you've got Azure, you've got Dearica, of course. They just are fun to watch.
Yeah.
There's some like electricity in them.
Well, they also can play really good basketball, just not for 40 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
They can play really good basketball for like 15 minutes at a time, 20 minutes at a time, but they haven't really been able to put. I mean, they did beat New York, but I think I'm hoping the Paige goes to LA.
Yeah,
that'd
be great.
Yeah, because I think that would give them like a really, if you have Paige, Cam, Rickea, Dearica, that's like a really strong base to build around.
Yeah. As a Mercury fan, I've really loved watching Celeste Taylor sort of blossom in the end of the season. She started out at the Fever, didn't get any time, bounced to Connecticut a bit, didn't really fit in there. And it's been really good. She got the Mercury took her on, I think, 2 or 3 7-day contracts before signing her for the whole end of the season, and it was fun to watch her at first, play a minute, and then as they've had injuries, she's gotten more and more playing time, and she started a couple games, and it's great to see her start to fit in and act as a backup point guard for Tosh, and just sort of really feel like she is in the W, not just sitting on the bench as a backup rookie.
Totally. And just one thing that I thought about Kate, I'm curious when we expand and we have Valkyries, and we don't know how many players that teams are going to be allowed to protect. I I wonder, like, Kate could be a player that would be very favorable for Golden State to, go snag, because are the Aces going to want to keep a rookie, a second-year player, or will they just let her go because they want to save, like, I don't know, like a Sydney Colson or Alicia Clark, like whoever they decide that 6th or 7th player is. But maybe they like Kate's upside because she's young and very well liked in the organization. So we will see, obviously, when we know more details about that.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see, like, the Aces and the Lynx, the teams with really deep benches, are just going to get pillaged in the expansion drafts over the next couple of years because they have really good benches. But it will be interesting to see, right? Especially with the Aces, like, okay, you have your starting 5, but then you also have, a lot of players on the bench who get a lot of playing time. You have Alicia Clark, you have Tiff Hayes, although she might retire again.
Right.
You have Megan Gustafson, and also Alicia Clark is, like, maybe, the Aces being an older team, it's also interesting to see how they weigh, like, how many more years is this person going to play? Should we not protect them now for someone like Kate, who's going to hopefully play for a lot of years?
Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens just with the expansion drafts, but also just having, everyone free agency, but also just having 36 or 40 more spots in the W just in the next 2 years, and what that does for everyone's playing time, what that does for rookies, what that does for maybe people who were waived this year or last year and are presumably now gonna have a roster spot. It's just so exciting.
Yeah, I'm especially excited to see what players like Celeste Taylor or Monique Billings or Odyssey Sims, these players who are obviously good and, like, contribute a lot to a team, but have just been, like, bouncing around and haven't found a permanent roster spot, to see, like, if they get the chance to really, like, settle into one spot and flourish.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I think let's start to wrap it up, but I'll give you both the opportunity. Are there any other general WNBA takes that you have that you need to get out there into the world, or
Laura, if you want to defend Diana Taurasi, you don't have to.
Diana Taurasi, is the greatest player the WNBA has ever seen at this point. She's played 20 seasons. She's playing, there's a lot of controversy about the Olympic team. Should Diana Taurasi have made it over Caitlin Clark? First off, Caitlin Clark's not even the best guard who was left off of the Olympic team, Arike.
Hot take.
But it was so funny to watch all these people on Twitter, comparing Diana's stats to Caitlin's and saying, look, Diana's stats are, like, about the same, maybe slightly better, slightly worse in some places. So that's not a real justification for putting her on the team over Caitlin. And it's like, well, she has 20 years of experience, though. And after 20 years, she is still putting up incredible stats. She's still easily a starter for the Mercury. It's crazy that she's doing this after 20 years. And she's so consistently been, she hasn't been the greatest. She hasn't had the greatest stats season every year at the W, but Asia broke her record for most points per game on average for a season.
Yeah, it's crazy that she's still, like, scoring, like, 19 points a game or whatever it is. And, like, obviously she's slowed down from her peak, and, like, she's not as good of a defender because it's, like, faster players can get by her more easily. Right. But, like, if she retires this year, it's because she wants to and, like, feels emotionally done. Like, she could clearly keep playing and still be, like, a high level player. Like, she might not be, the best, like, top 10, but she would still be top 25, top 30, like, if she keeps playing at the level that she has.
For sure.
Yeah. And I love all the, there's so many reasons I love Diana. She's funny, she's feisty, I love all her texts. But I love how much content we've gotten lately with her and her wife Penny Taylor and their 2 kids. It's so, she has kids. Brittany Griner has her wife just had a baby. Chelsea Gray has a baby. Brianna Stewart, her daughter Ruby and her son. It was so great at the Olympics watching all of these openly queer players with just all of their little kids. And it's just like, oh my gosh, we now have this. Our team is mostly openly queer players with families. It's so...
Well, especially for someone like Diana, who, when she joined the league in 2004, like, there was definitely a lot of pressure, either explicit or implicit, to like not come out. And those like old photos of her where she's just like extremely femme looking in a way that obviously she does not feel like want to dress now. And so to go from like that, like, I think, did you see the video of like Mercury like having the players sign their like old photos?
Yes.
So funny.
So good.
And Diana was like, this was back when the W used to haze us. And so just to like start out with that and end up with like the Mercury official account like tweeting all of these videos of like her and her wife and her kids.
It's very heartwarming. It's makes me very happy to see how far we've come.
Yeah,
definitely.
How great it is as a league and as a society.
Agreed.
For sure.
Well, we'll button it up with the last question that we ask our guests, and this is probably a pretty easy one. But if a person is just watching the W for the first time, what would be the reason that they should root for the Las Vegas Aces?
I mean, they're fun and they're good.
They're fun. They're good. They're always up to hijinks. I think I really love teams that the players seem to like each other and they all have chemistry and they're all kind of making fun of each other, and you get so much of that in the Aces.
Yeah. Also, if you want to know what it's like to be inside a WNBA player group chat, just look at Sydney Colson's Twitter, because like half of her tweets, I'm like, Sid, I think that should have just been a text to your teammates, but now we all get to see it.
Yeah. They bring so much joy. They love each other. They support each other. They have so much joy for basketball. And they're playing good basketball,
Yeah.
And they bring us hilarious moments. One of the funniest moments this season was versus an earlier game with the Wings. Alicia Clark had to inbound the ball and somehow forgot what she was doing. Was distracted.
She was like talking to Becky, I think,
or
the ref or
and
something.
Instead of inbounding the ball to her team, inbounded it directly to Arike Ogunbowale, who then
in a classic Arike move, she has the ball. There's no one else in the backcourt because they're supposed to be, going the other way. Instead of driving to the hoop, she just immediately pulls up for a three.
And this is it. And Kelsey Plum is running towards Arike, also shouting at Alicia, like, no, what are you doing? That was our ball. That's just kind of the Aces. And then after the game, the Aces won, and Alicia was kind of just like, I don't want to talk about it, LOL. That's sort of the Aces in a nutshell. There's always something fun going on with them.
I love it.
Yeah.
So much personality.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Kristen, anything else for our wonderful guests today?
No, I think we're good. I think if you want to root for a team that has a ton of winning history, perhaps jump on the Aces bandwagon.
Yep. You could be a bandwagon fan. Great name, great team name. Las Vegas Aces is
honestly, I love the marketing. I love the branding.
Yeah.
I love the black, white, silver.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, we'll see when...
Also, lots of good branding with Asia's name and the apostrophe. The M apostrophe VP or A apostrophe CES.
Or the 1 apostrophe 000.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah,
I love that. And look out for Asia's new shoes. Hopefully coming soon.
Yeah.
She's been so secretive about it, but should be coming soon. That'll be good.
We'll see.
They'll be sweet, I'm sure.
I'm interested to see when the NBA eventually expands to Vegas. They are going to be significantly behind the Aces in terms of winner equity and all that good stuff. I think the Aces have a very strong following in Vegas, and they're probably the best team in that city. So we will see what happens for Las Vegas this year, if they can...
Maybe they could get Bam Adebayo as one of their stars on Vegas
yes.
teams. Who knows?
Yes, Asian Bam.
All of the social media stuff with Asia and Bam has been extremely funny too.
They're just two friends hanging out, supporting each other.
Casual.
Nothing more than that.
Just 2 6 and us friends hanging out. Being inconspicuous.
We'll see if Las Vegas has it in them to win a third title in a row, which would be pretty impressive. And it's been a long time since that's been the case. But Laura, Elizabeth, thank you so much again for coming on
Thank you for having
the
us.
pod.
Yeah.
we will happily have you on in the off season when we don't know what we're going to talk about. Especially if there's any relationship drama, we know both of you will be on that.
We'll be here.
Yes.
But yeah.
We'll happily come back anytime.
Yeah.
We love the pod.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, folks, I think that will do it for another episode of Attack the Baseline. If you haven't checked out our playoff preview, go check that out. Playoffs start on Sunday. You're probably listening to this on Sunday. I don't know. Games may have already started, but just enjoy it. Playoff time, exciting ball. But Kristen, I'm looking at the baseline. What are we going to do?
Attack it.
Thank you so much. Attack the Baseline. We will talk to you soon. Again, thank you both for joining us today. Cheers, everybody.
As school messes return, rest easy. Clorox has got your back to school.
Oh, no.
I'm back. That messy science experiment. And I brought baking soda, cornstarch.
And you're due tomorrow, right? Well, at least I stocked up on Clorox disinfecting wipes. Because you're not messing up my kitchen counters like last time.
Ooh, smart. Got any food coloring?
And off to the store we go.
Stock up on Clorox disinfecting wipes that clean 3 times better than wet paper towels on kitchen grease and soaps come. Use as directed.
When raising a Pacifico beer with friends you just met turns into hitting up their friend's local art show, getting inspired to create something together, and painting your first mural, you found what was waiting for you. Pacifico. Life's waiting. 21 plus only. Discover responsibly. Pacifico Clara Beer. Imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
You hear that? That's the sound of instant relief from nasal congestion by the #1 best-selling nasal strip brand in the world, Breathe Right. Breathe Right's drug-free, flexible, spring-like bands physically open your nose for increased airflow, allowing you to breathe easier, one breath at a time. We may not be able to put the feeling of instant relief into words, but believe us, you'll be able to feel it. Try us for free today at breatheright.com.
Walmart Plus. It's Walmart plus free delivery, which saves members time plus money. Yep. Plus an included Paramount Plus subscription to stream movies, shows, sports, and that can't-miss documentary. Plus Burger King savings. That's right. Members get 25% off Burger King digital orders every day of the week. Walmart Plus. It's Walmart Plus. Become a member at walmartplus.com. $35 order minimum. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. Valid at participating U.S. BKs in the BK app or BK.com for members only. 25% off one time per calendar day. Terms apply. See Walmart Plus terms and conditions.
It's time to have your high five moment with High Five Casino, the top social casino where the action and real prizes never stop. Fun spins and big wins are right at your fingertips with over 1,000 games, including High Five Casino exclusives. High Five Casino is always free to play with free coins given out every 4 hours. Sign up today for a free welcome offer that can get you spinning and winning right away. Visit highfivecasino.com.
High Five Casino.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply.